What's going on, people? I am dukedobbins, FTW, and in my last video, I exposed the Destiny 2 beta for what it really was. Boring and outdated. A game that was beautiful, but ultimately hollow and pointless. The Kim Kardashian of gaming. Unsurprisingly, the Destiny community had a full-on meltdown in my comments, nearly drowning my innocent subscribers in their fucking fanboy tears. It's been a long time since I made videos critical of Destiny. I had forgotten just how vitriolic and unreasonable the Destiny defense complex could be. But of course, the tragic irony is that nobody is more to blame for Destiny's shortcomings than its own fanbase. We know now that not only will Destiny 2 be running at 30 frames per second, it will be doing so without the aid of dedicated servers. If you're a loyal member of the Destiny community, this is Activision pissing on you. Straight up. Gears of War, Halo, Battlefield can all afford dedicated servers. They also all hit 60 frames per second, by the way. Battlefront was able to hit 60 frames per second even on those incredible photorealistic graphics. But okay, we'll give them a pass on the frames per second thing just because I already bitched about that in the last video. But in regards to the dedicated servers, there's no legitimate excuse for the world's most profitable publisher and one of its most profitable products failing to achieve what has become standard practice among AAA PvP titles in 2017. This is mediocre ass shit we're talking about. No daddy should be a deal breaker, especially if you're running 30 frames per second PvP, but they'll get away with it and still turn a hefty profit because they know they can piss on their customers' faces, and those loyal guardians will turn around with yellowed, dripping faces and defend Bungie's right to urinate where they please. Today I want to talk about what drives people to loyally defend video games like Destiny even when it's potentially counterproductive to their own interests, and how vulnerable that leaves them to being taken advantage of by businesses like Activision. What's always fascinated me about my own comment section is how intense and vitriolic these arguments about video games get. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of actual debate, but it's always wrapped in people cussing each other out and calling each other all kinds of nasty names, insulting everyone's intelligence. I'm always getting told that I'm an idiot or to kill myself. You can tell that people are taking it very personally, and they don't just disagree with what I'm saying. You can tell they are really pissed off about it. And you see this kind of volatility all across YouTube when it comes to gaming videos, especially ones that are critical of the game. People get heated about the games they love. What's happening, I believe, is that people are self-identifying with Destiny. The game itself has become a part of their identity. And look, I'm not criticizing because I've experienced this too, but with fucking RuneScape, which I played for like 6 years from 3rd to 9th grade, and I kind of grew up on the game, right? And if I had $1 for every time I had to clock some motherfucker in the face for dissing on RuneScape to my fucking face, I'd have about $3.50. I would get in fat arguments online about why RuneScape was better than World of Fartcraft or why it's better than your fucking mom. I get heated, and when people talk shit about RuneScape, it would piss me off a little bit because so much of who you are is just a sum of all your past experiences. And if so many of those experiences took place on RuneScape, then RuneScape is going to be a little bit of who you are. Because it's not just some product, it's a world with friendships and accomplishments and personal growth. And if RuneScape was a part of me, surely Destiny has become a part of some of its fans. So when I say this game is hollow and pointless, what am I saying about them? You see this same phenomenon with sports where people can get so fired up that fistfights and street riots are up, and yet it's not as if they are actually a part of the team they are so passionate about. It's not as if they can actually contribute to the team or the team to them, and yet should the team win, it will bring them very real joy, and should the team lose, very real pain, because there's a connection to the team inside of them that's more important than anything tangible. We're a tribal species. When you go after someone's game, they will take it personally, the same way they take it personally if you went after their politics or religion or country or culture, because even though you aren't attacking them personally, they identify with this shit to the extent that they'll feel as if you are going after them personally. But the problem is, once we get tribal about shit, we let ourselves succumb to confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is defined as the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses. The effect is stronger for emotionally charged issues and for deeply entrenched beliefs. Usually by emotionally charged issues and deeply entrenched beliefs, people mean religion and politics. I'm gonna be the first one to come out and say it. It's fucking games too, bro, okay? Or, as the infamous 1600s philosopher Sir Francis fucking Bacon put it, the human understanding, when it has once adopted an opinion, draws all things else to support and agree with it. And though there be a greater number and weight of instances to be found on the other side, these it either neglects or despises, or else by some distinction sets aside and rejects. Human beings recognized this tribal behavior long before scientific inquiry found the more tangible proof in MRI scans and behavioral studies. When it comes to disagreement, very few treat it as a quest for the objective truth. It is more often treated as a duel, where your pre-existing belief, whether it's in Destiny or Trump, must be defended and maintained at all costs, even in the face of all reason. Social psychologists have found that in experiments where people are given feedback that conflicts with their self-image, they are less likely to attend to it or even remember it than when given self-verifying feedback, okay? They reduce the impact of such information by interpreting it as unreliable. Similar experiences have found a preference for positive feedback in the people who give it over negative feedback. When you tell people something they don't like about their game, they'll fucking forget about it. Their brain will fucking just fuck it. I don't want to know. But if you tell them something nice, they're gonna hold on to that shit like it's a fucking Snickers candy bar. I see this kind of shit in my comments all the time. Well, if you're so smart, why don't you make your own fucking game and see how hard it is? If you don't like it, why are you even playing it? You're probably just bad at the game. Very few attempts to address the actual criticisms, but a whole lot of feisty little one-liners that delegitimize me or whatever other critic is out there, and thus render our evidence as to Destiny's shenanigans unreliable. And they don't consciously choose to do this. It's just how our brains work. It's something we all have to be wary of. And meanwhile, Bungie can prey on this to get away with a whole lot. What I thought was telling was after the beta, which pretty much everyone thought was ass, Bungie comes down their developer blog and says, it's an old build, we already changed all the stuff you guys are bitching about. All the stuff you learned from the beta is stuff you already knew. Real productive, guys, real productive. And it's like, I'm glad you guys are testing for bugs on an old build. It's not like introducing new code ever caused any new complications, fucking morons. What else was telling was they said eventually they would release all the stats for the beta. You know, shit like how many people played and how long they played. Interestingly enough, they never did. All the more interesting because usually when the beta stats are good, the devs will release those stats like literally the day after to generate hype. You know, we saw this for like, you know, Black Ops 3 betas and Halo 5 betas and all this shit. You know, they just immediately pump out the stats to make their shit look hella good. Destiny didn't do it. They said they would. They haven't yet. For whatever reason, they felt the need to keep those beta stats on the down low. But anyways, they shovel out this bullshit because they know it's just enough for their fans' cognitive bias to do the rest of the work, and sure enough, when I criticized that beta, like half the comments were saying Bungie already said it's an old build. Therefore, all your criticisms are invalid and outdated, even though any rational observer who's been gaming long enough knows that the core experience of a beta is always basically the core experience of the main game, regardless of what little tweaks they make in before launch. In his final monologue before retiring, Jon Stewart warned the world about the bullshitocracy, the three main ways in which politicians and corporations bullshit their voters and customers. Way number one, making bad things sound like good things. For a perfect example of this, look no further than how Bungie is handling this dedicated servers thing. They know that shit is a sore subject for many people, so they come out with this 500 slide presentation talking about bubbles and clouds and their quote-unquote hybrid system. Where have I heard that before? And they make it sound so fancy and complex that the layman, after reading through this, will walk away feeling like, alright, everything's taken care of. They're doing the same thing COD does with its no Deddies cop-out, but it's bullshit. The basic gist of it, at least in regards to the PvP aspect, which is the part the Deddies are most important for, is that they don't have Deddies, but your console will always be the ultimate authority on your character's position, so what this means is that you will never rubber band. But guess what? The people you're shooting at fucking will. They'll be teleporting around corners just as often, if not more so. It's still very possible to put shots into someone that end up not registering because on that person's console, he wasn't standing there. I mean, when you explain it in a way that people can actually understand, you realize it's just this awkward, like, glue and popsicle stick solution that arguably doesn't even make anything better. But they have all this shit they can point at and say, well, we don't have Deddies, but we have our own special solution. We're so cool, but we got our own thing going on, alright? No, that's not a consistent solution to the many problems of online PvP experiences, alright, bro? It's a fucking joke. It's like if your house was on fire and you needed a fucking fire hose, Bungie would show up with like 50 kids armed with squirt guns and then pat themselves on the fucking back. It's not a fire hose, but it'll get the job done. But will it, Bungie? Will it? Now, the second method of the bullshitocracy is to hide bad things under mountains of bullshit and complexity, okay? Which is exactly what they're doing with this PowerPoint presentation. I mean, this thing might as well be like a fucking iTunes agreement, alright? Why is it even this long? They could have fit all the info onto like 5 slides, but they know the average kid out there on the internet won't have the patience for 50 slides because we're the Snapchat generation and they got us by the balls. Even if the motherfucker did read through this whole thing, he's not gonna know about bubbles and clouds and activity hosts and all this shit, so people won't read it and they'll just look at the pseudo length and complexity of this thing and the confirmation bias kicks in and they're like, alright, they don't have Deddies, but obviously they must have some kind of system in place. I love Bungie. Bungie wouldn't ass fuck me. The third strategy of the bullshit artist is the law of infinite possibilities. And this doesn't apply to the Deddies, but this is what the beta shit was, right? Don't worry, it's just a beta. It's an old build. Everything will be better later. We're just in the beginning of a 10-year journey. Golly gee willikers, lick my ass and call me the traveler, motherfucker. Now, the average person, new customers, people who weren't that enthusiastic about Destiny 1, we're not the ones who are being misled here, alright? Because the bullshit needs a little bit of confirmation bias for it to work. It's the people who want their game to be on top. It's the people who want to love the game that will look past the shortcomings, gloss over the inconsistencies, and discount the criticism because they got that self-identification confirmation bias, motherfucker. And I think it's been obvious from day one that this game isn't even really trying to attract any more new customers. It's just about raping the base for everything it's worth. And the one time that this game's fanbase realized they were getting used was when that whole Luke Smith Special Super Grand Deluxe Edition controversy broke out, where veterans of the series were basically being penalized an extra $40 if they wanted access to the emblems and Happy Meal toys in the special edition. That was the one time their confirmation bias couldn't rationalize why Luke Smith's chode cock was resting on their face while he laughed about it. And guess what? They got pissed about it, and the policy changed in a fucking week. The fanbase has all the power. If everyone in the Destiny subreddit and official forums got pissed today about the lack of dedicated servers in an outdated 30 FPS format that desperately needs them, this game would have fully functional Deddies before launch. It would have them fucking tomorrow, but they won't do it. I go into the Destiny subreddit and they're defending the shitty glue and popsicle stick system. They're fucking excited about it. The guy writing this thing even admits that hardcore PvPers won't like this system, but even then, you can tell the guy's generating, he's generating his own bullshit at this point to defend Bungie, right? Because it's not just hardcore PvPers that won't like this, it's anyone who wants their PvP to be fair, balanced, and consistent. But he's bullshitting and talking about how they have Deddies, but they're just not Deddies in the traditional sense because people have stupid jargon online, blah, 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 blah. Alright, they start generating, that Bungie doesn't even have to generate the bullshit. The fucking base generates the bullshit for them. They come up with their own rationalizations in their own fucking brains. This game doesn't suck dick because of me. This game sucks dick because of its suck dick fans. So y'all can suck my dick. Please remember to rate and be sure to participate in the brutal flame war I'm sure will take place in my comments. Thank you for watching. This is Batman, signing out.
Have a